Western leaders have drawn a hard line regarding the Middle East. The political promise is absolute. Iran will not be permitted to build a nuclear weapon, regardless of what it takes to stop them. But behind those broad political guarantees is a specific mathematical reality on the ground. Right now, Iran holds a stockpile of approximately 440.9 kilograms of uranium that has been enriched to 60%. This visualization shows the physics of enrichment. Pushing uranium from 60% to the 90% threshold required for weapons-grade material takes very little additional effort. The hardest work has already been done. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency, that single stockpile holds enough potential material to produce up to 10 nuclear bombs. While politicians debate policy, the physics of that enrichment level presents a pressing problem. The clock is ticking, and the pressure to neutralize that material is mounting. Complicating matters, international watchdogs are largely flying blind. Following a series of strikes, critical IAEA monitoring operations were severely disrupted around June 2025, severing our direct line of sight into the facilities. When surveillance fails, a common proposed solution is a forced military extraction, sending in elite special forces under darkness to physically seize the uranium. However, military tacticians and nuclear experts view this as a doomed strategy. They look at the logistics and conclude that a physical raid is practically impossible. Extracting a highly sensitive payload from a fortified hostile nation is a complex, warlike operation. Any invading force would immediately hit 3 insurmountable layers of defense. This is a wide view of the surface-level nuclear complex. The facility is a sprawling industrial site, though the actual stockpile is housed deep beneath the visible infrastructure. Analysts tracking the movement of highly enriched material have watched transport trucks leave the surface buildings and disappear directly into rugged, mountainous terrain. The targets are entirely subterranean. Intelligence suggests approximately 200 kilograms of uranium is hidden in tunnels near Isfahan, with additional caches buried deep beneath facilities at Natanz and Fordo. Because this material is buried beneath millions of tons of solid rock, conventional bunker-busting bombs are ineffective. If a military wants to seize that uranium, ground teams have to physically enter the mountain. Once inside, the physical environment weaponizes against the assault team. Invading forces would be fighting a war of deep tunnel deception. This schematic demonstrates the scale of the facility's internal defenses. Experts assess that the true payload is meticulously hidden among vast arrays of identical decoy containers, making it statistically near impossible to quickly identify the actual uranium. To make matters worse, those false containers and the surrounding pathways are heavily suspected to be rigged with lethal booby traps. Attempting to sort the real from the fake in a rigged underground maze instantly stalls the mission timeline. A swift surgical strike deteriorates into a prolonged, deadly trap. The chemical state of the uranium introduces a hazard more volatile than the physical traps of the tunnel. We tend to imagine nuclear material as stable, solid metal blocks, but this material is far more reactive. As you can see in this schematic, this material is stored as uranium hexafluoride. It is a highly volatile gas contained with heavy 50-kilogram steel cylinders. Moving these heavy cylinders by hand becomes a tactical nightmare when a frantic firefight inevitably breaks out in a dark, confined space. If a single stray bullet pierces one of those steel containers, the chemical reaction is catastrophic. The breach would immediately release highly concentrated fluorine gas directly into the tunnel. Fluorine gas violently corrodes human tissue on contact. Exposure means instant destruction of the skin, eyes, and lungs. To survive this chemical threat, soldiers would have to fight off entrenched defenders and haul 50-kilogram cylinders through a labyrinth while wearing thick, highly restrictive hazmat suits. The volatile chemistry of uranium hexafluoride guarantees that a raid is essentially a suicide mission. Long before an extraction team reaches the surface, the environment itself becomes their deadliest enemy. When military strategists evaluate this hypothetical assault, the outcomes are clear: heavy casualties on both sides and a localized radiological and chemical disaster inside the mountains. Despite that cost in human life, the primary objective would still fail. The payload would almost certainly remain unsecured, either buried beneath tons of rubble or vented into the atmosphere. A physical attack on these stockpiles wouldn't prevent a war. It would be the exact trigger that sets off an uncontrollable regional conflict. The physical and chemical constraints of the stockpile make a tactical seizure operation unfeasible. Given these logistical dead ends, many international experts view a negotiated framework as the most stable path for the verifiable removal of the uranium. Ultimately, the dark tunnel tactical reality forces the issue back into the hands of international regulators. Securing the material requires transparent agreements rather than special forces operations.